During the evolution of the world, people made various inventions. Let's just take a simple example from our day-to-day life. Kitchen knife. Kitchen knife is made for the simple task of cutting fruits and vegetables. Or in fact, that was the original intention of the inventor. Inventor's contribution to the society is the service done by the knife. But think for a second, what happened to this invention when it is put to our yin-yang society? It went from a simple tool to a weapon. You can see people using the kitchen knife to kill other people. Here we have to think whether it's the nature of the society or whether the inventor failed in his job of creating a perfect invention, or whether he forgot about the impact of the society enforced by his invention and he did not take it to the account. Alfred Bernard Nobel, who was an engineer, did not think this through until he read his premature obituary, where he was referred as Merchant of Death. That was just a knife which we were talking about, and that was a dynamite which made Alfred Bernard Nobel to create the Nobel Prize. Now let's look at the transformation done to the society by IT professionals. IT technology is highly integrated with the society in the present, and it is almost like people are no longer able to function normally without technology. So the IT professionals should give a serious thought to the creations they do contribute to the society and make sure they protect the society. Very often, professionals has to take decisions which may lead to unethical impact to the world if the decision is not good. The tools given to the IT professionals by professional bodies is the code of ethics, which they can use to take decisions on situations where they cannot take decisions very clearly. Their moral principles may lead them to take bad decisions. IT professionals can look at code of ethics when they take decisions and make their decisions based on the code of ethics, which makes it independent of personal feelings. Next, we will discuss this topic more deeper with an example. Our example is virtual reality. In modern world, virtual reality is a well-developed area. People can do various actions in these virtual worlds, and these worlds are sometimes designed very similar to the real world. But without all the limitations of the physical world, people can also do various unethical actions, maybe to a virtual model or a representation of a real person. Problem here is, should we judge people on their behavior on this virtual reality? So, we all can agree that professionals or IT professionals help to develop these virtual worlds. So, do you think that they should have enforced some constraints into these virtual worlds to prevent such actions? Virtual reality will change people's behavior, and it will change how people think incrementally. So, when IT professionals developed this virtual world, did they think about it? Or did their code of ethics cover this problem in detail? If we look at code of ethics from different professional bodies, we can see they have gone extent to cover the society and prevent professionals from doing harm to the society. But if you read the paper, you can understand how much deeper a professional going to understand or comprehend code of ethics is still will depend on the individual capacity to think. This clearly shows ethics are important for a professional.
Most simplest definition for profession is anything that is done for living by a skilled person. So professionalism is the competence of skills expected by a person to be a professional. However, from professionals such as lawyers, doctors and engineers, society expects something more than the skills. So unlike for other professions, for previously mentioned professions, there are organizations or professional bodies to maintain the quality and the standards of the professionals. These bodies define set of guidelines that should be followed by the professionals. Let's talk about few of these guidelines by taking the set of guidelines defined by the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. RICS defines acting with integrity as the first guideline that should be followed by the professionals. So let's see what is acting with integrity. Integrity is the quality of being honest. Let's see how this can be related to an IT professional. Assume that you are running a software company and you have a customer who is willing to buy your software. Let's say the customer's knowledge on information technology is very low. So you can easily pretend that the software costs very higher than the actual amount and charge more from the client. So you can easily pretend that the software costs very higher than the actual amount and charge more from the client. Someone can argue that if the customer is willing to pay that amount, there is no problem. But according to the guidelines, this is not an acceptable behavior. So why this is not acceptable? Because misleading a client is not ethical as an IT professional. So we can see that ethics is behind this first principle defined by the profession. According to the guidelines defined by professional bodies, a professional should treat other professionals with respect. In most of the cases, we can see that inside the organizations, there are a bunch of people who always try to steal someone's idea or someone else's work and take the credit as it is their own. This is clearly an unethical behavior and violation of the so-called guidelines. A professional should always take the responsibility of their work. This aspect is clearly defined by IEEE in their Software Engineering Code of Ethics. In most of the cases, people tend to put the blame on someone else when something goes wrong. According to the guidelines defined by the professional bodies, a professional is responsible for any outcome that will be experienced by users, clients, employers, public or by the other professionals regardless of the nature of the outcome. Hence, it is not ethical to take only the responsibility of positive outcomes and putting the responsibility of a negative outcome on someone else. When considering above standards defined for professionals by professional bodies, it is obvious that all of them are derived from a set of moral principles which we used to refer as ethics. Hence, there is a higher correlation between the professionalism and ethics, since professionalism is defined in terms of ethics itself. According to the IESL, engineers shall always act in such a manner as to uphold and enhance the honor, integrity, and dignity of the profession while safeguarding public interest at all times. But what are the activities that will degrade the trust in the profession? Clearly, the answer would be anything that is unethical will degrade the trust in the profession. So it is clear that in case of this guideline, ethics plays a major role again.
Ethics for professionals. This section would cover ethics, which are specific to the IT professionals due to the nature of the IT field. These professional obligations are called professional ethics. Being in the IT field and being exposed to the newest technological advancements, obligations that IT professionals have to the society are much more different. Having that vast knowledge and capabilities, IT professionals would have become educated criminals. The word black hats is not a new word to the general public. What made these technologically savvy people to become a danger to the society? They should be aware of ethical practices in the profession. IT professionals often get the chance to let their hands on and have access to the very sensitive data such as government secrets and sensitive information about clients and companies. This may be a fortune for a hacker who would sell information to third parties. Some of these behaviors are not even covered in depth by the legal systems. The technology which grows faster, even more faster than the most law in some areas, is going to be an untamed animal before the law. Copyrights and other conditions of the law. Sharing secrets and proprietary information. Changing and reusing code written by others may seem very small things to consider, but they are very specific to the IT profession, and when it comes to the dynamic behavior of the IT field, these small things do a lot of damage over the time. Clients may have to face legal suits simply because someone forgot to follow good ethical practices.
Good ethics can drive a business towards success in many ways. For instance, it can help avoid expensive lawsuits. It can improve employee morale, and it can win customer loyalty. In contrast, adhering to bad ethical practices could result in bad business performance. Personal computer manufacturer Dell can be cited as an example of an IT-related company for the latter case. Dell's unethical behavior tarnished customers' trust on its product reliability and service. Ultimately, it lost millions of dollars in revenue in 2007 and soon lost its market dominance to the rival HP. Internet giant Google too has faced multiple accusations in multiple countries over unethical practices. For instance, Google has been accused of unethically abusing its market dominance in India to crush the competition. Google also faces multiple lawsuits in Europe. Adhering to code of ethics related to the profession is beneficial to both the individual and the society to which he serves. A good set of ethics can be used as guidelines for better decision making. It can prevent the individual from making harmful choices in tricky and stressful business situations. It helps achieving higher professional standards and helps gain trust and respect from the society. This is favorable both to the respective individual as well as the society.
So, in conclusion, we have identified that ethics play a major role in the lives of IT professionals and in the IT industry itself. The major reason for this being the very nature of the IT industry and its impact on society. We have brought forward examples such as virtual reality to discuss our case. We have observed that ethics operate on different levels, on organizational level and on an individual's level. And we have brought forward examples involving companies like Google and Apple to discuss our cases. And we have identified the major reasons for companies and individuals to behave unethically. Companies and individuals behave unethically in order to acquire their short-term goals. By doing so, they fail to achieve their long-term goals. What we suggest is a win-win situation where you thrive to achieve your long-term goals and meet your ethical standards. By doing so, you ensure that in the long run your company or the individual survives, and you ensure that the society gets the best. So in grand conclusion, no matter how much institutions take effort to standardize ethics, it always lies in the hands of the individual to act ethically. And we also see that ethics play a major role in the ICT industry and in the ICT professionals as well. The ICT industry is introducing many new technologies every day, and these technologies give rise to new ethical questions. As ICT professionals, we must be vigilant and ethically question these new technologies and ensure that ethics are adhered.